Hi guys, it's Krista from Playing with a Purpose, and today I thought I would talk to you about 5 things I think most daycare providers and preschool teachers wish you knew. If you're new here, my name is Krista and I'm a childcare provider for up to 5 children, and on my channel you'll find tips and tricks, all things related to childcare, shopping hauls, and the odd family vlog. The number one thing is I chose this career. A lot of times people just think, oh, you stay home with children, or I'm sure every single childcare provider has heard this one, you babysit. Although I've learned over the years to just let these comments roll off my back, I do think it's really important that people understand that most childcare providers have chosen this career. And we've chosen this career because we love children. For me, this is a career choice and it's something that I'm passionate about. And I definitely don't love the term babysitter. This career sometimes doesn't get a lot of respect, and a lot of times people just don't acknowledge the hard work and dedication it takes to look after children all day. This is definitely not an easy job. It's long hours and you need to have a lot of patience to get through every day. But for whatever reason, we often don't get looked at as professionals. The second thing is we don't do it for the money. It's always a big topic of conversation among other daycare providers about when to raise our rates. With the steady rate of inflation and the cost of all the materials and the supplies and the upkeep of our homes, as you can imagine, it costs money to run a business, but in childcare, there are so many different expenses that sometimes other people may forget about. So we're feeding the children every day, and we all know the cost of groceries have gone up. There's expenses for toys, equipment, craft supplies, and all those things add up. And so we definitely don't do it for the money. And sometimes I think there's a bit of a disconnect when a parent writes the check for their childcare arrangement. They're forgetting that that whole amount of money does not go to the childcare provider. A large portion of that goes to materials, supplies, and food. Number 3 is how much time we dedicate outside of our daycare hours. Most childcare providers are open around 9 to 10 hours a day, but the provider is also working before and after your general workday starts and ends because they're accommodating for that travel time. And so our hours are also quite long. And in addition to that, we often do cleaning, toy rotations, washing bedding, making beds, all those kind of things after hours. So in addition to already long days, we also have many hours that we spend in the evenings or weekends to get all these other things done as well. And so that's why we definitely look forward to a break. Respect is so important. This is a really intimate relationship and it becomes like a family. And so it's really important that we show each other respect. Some of the things in my program that have come up over the years that have been really frustrating is when parents medicate their child and then drop them off at daycare. One of the things you need to remember is that our responsibility as a childcare provider is to make sure that we're keeping everybody in the program safe. It's not easy for us to make those calls, so please work with us. One of the things that I've learned is to just have a really open and honest communication between my families. I think that we need to understand the parents' perspective as well as the parents understanding our perspective. We know that it's stressful for parents to have to pick up their children when they're sick, and we don't take that lightly. From a provider's perspective, I think it's important that we recognize that parents have a job to do as well, and we should be really clear about what our sick policies are and stick to them. And children do get sick, and unfortunately we can't keep children out with a common cold. And I think if we have reasonable sick policies, that when we do need to make those calls, it definitely shouldn't be stressful. Picking up on times. When I was a new provider, I got taken advantage of a lot. And a lot of families would just slowly be later and later. And I was too shy and uncomfortable to say anything. But over the years, I've learned that I work hard and I need to know when I'm finished my work. I do have a late fee in my contract, but I prefer to just keep it very clear that my expectation is that parents pick up on time. Picking up on time is also making sure that you're here in time to pick up your child, be able to have a couple minute conversation and have them dressed and out the door by closing time. Sometimes parents will roll in right at the closing time, but then there's a few more minutes of conversation and also getting your child ready. Try to keep in mind to come in times to have a couple of minute conversation and have your child out the door by the time the childcare is closed. I am not very good with technology, and one of the things that I dread each month is making my newsletter. But my newsletter helps parents stay up to date on what's happening in our daycare program, as well as any sort of action that they might need. Maybe there's a field trip fee, or maybe the children need to bring in a family picture for circle time, or maybe I have some closures coming up. All those details are written in my newsletter. And this is a great way for me to just unload all those things from my mind. And once I've given it to the parents, then I know that they're informed. Sometimes though, parents don't always read these newsletters. And then I'll get questions regarding some of the very things that I have written in the newsletter. And this can be frustrating because I've spent time, and because I'm not very good at it, I've spent extra time, and it can be frustrating to have to repeat myself. And often it'll be something about one of the closures that's coming up, and I'll get a text saying, hey, what are the dates that you're closed at Christmas? Or something like that. And often when I read these texts, I'm out grocery shopping or I'm visiting my mom, and I don't have the dates myself handy. And so those kind of things can be frustrating because I can't easily access that information until I'm home. They're written so that everybody has the information they need. So please read your newsletters. And the last thing is, when I have children that are graduating my program and they're heading off to school, I always feel that I'm closer to the child and the family than they are to me. And when I think about it, it makes sense because once the parent gets to work, they're gone to work. So they're not bonding with me. They're doing their job at work. Whereas we get these children and we spend 9-10 hours a day with them every single day. And so we're seeing these children grow up right before our eyes. And when you're a provider, you care for these children deeply. And so when a child moves on to school, it's sad for us because we've just put so much love and attention into these children, and now we have to let them fly. And so this is a really difficult transition for us. And I think from a parent's perspective, they're looking at it like so many more months and no more childcare fees. And they may not recognize the connection that we have with their children. So I think we definitely feel closer to them and their children than they do to us. And I think that's only natural, but that's definitely something that we wish parents knew. And I also encourage you to share some of these thoughts with your parents because I really believe that perhaps they just don't know because we don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing them. But I think it's important that we just are honest to build on that relationship with our daycare families. I'm Krista with Playing with a Purpose. I'll see you next time.